to the military industrial complex, and may it keep fucking us over for the rest of our lives.
Yes. Would you care to elaborate a little bit on this toast
No,
this week?
it's mainly geared towards you.
Oh, okay.
I have I have my own personal battle that I have to fight with the military industrial complex, as it were, for especially since the
Man.
uh it's they're I'm getting ready to go to the mattresses, as it were,
Mm-hmm.
about the fact that they kicked me out 5 months short of my 20 years of active duty.
Mm-hmm.
I had almost 22 years of service, and I had all this stuff I needed for my medical retirement and all this other things. And um, because the Air Force would have actually had to pay me more money, they chose to, I believe, that they chose, knowing what the dates were, to make sure that I got out before the 20 years active duty was up, so they wouldn't have to pay me everything that I should have been paid.
Oh, you think so?
Short by 5 months. I mean, even the lawyers that I dealt with when I was doing with the med board alluded to the fact that there was, some mistakes made there. The it's no, Bronco Fett, you can't say anything yet.
Oh, I told him yes.
No, overruled. Anyway, so the reality is that I'm going to have a battle ahead of me,
Oh, really?
most likely involving my congressman again,
Oh,
because I truly believe that they were of malicious intent. And I know the regs, and there's sanctuary, as we know, when you're getting ready to get out of your career. And I think that they violated some of those things.
Ooh.
And so I'm going to act appropriately. Now that I'm starting to settle into school and things like that, I feel like I really need to come at them with both barrels. Because quite frankly, the what they're military retirement. I've said this before. Military retirement is not retirement; it's unemployment. And it's nice to get a little bit of money. And there's a lot of companies out there that don't give pensions anymore. So we are fortunate. We
Yeah.
are fortunate.
But even the military is phasing out actual pensions now,
Yep.
and they're going to their own permanent 401k like system.
Yeah, with the TSP and all that shit. So
Yeah.
and my TSP, I can't even. I have to. It's a fucking shit show. It really is. And mainly, I made that toast because of what you've had to go through this past week.
Yes, we'll get into it when we get to my
weekend
weekend Star Wars.
If my fucking phone would stop locking. Oh,
Oh.
there's a build up right now.
Man.
I can't wait.
Dave showed up and he was already looking pretty fucking pissed. So I'm like, oh boy.
Fuck.
But that just means we're gonna get the best out of him for the podcast. So in the meantime, hello everyone, and welcome back to All Things Star Wars, the greatest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. I'm Mr. Jason Roscom. With me here each and every single week, the happy-go-lucky Jar Jar Binks to my Qui-Gon Jinn, Dave Martin. Hello, Dave.
Me say what now?
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Jason.
You all right?
I'm good. You know what? I think I'm carrying some of your stress, honestly, probably without any real reason to.
He does that a lot. He's a very giving and caring person, possibly to a fault.
I hate to see bad things happen to good people, and if there's anything I can do to control it, I try, which most of the time I can't. So I don't know why I should.
Yeah.
My therapist would probably say something similar.
So
how do I keep my fucking phone from locking? Because I'm again having technical issues right out the fucking gate.
We are professionals here at the All Things Star Wars podcast. So what are we talking about on the actual Star Wars portion of the podcast?
Fucking Thrawn.
Fucking Thrawn. Yes. Wouldn't that be great? Just walking into a bookstore and the title just be Fucking Thrawn.
Fucking Thrawn.
By Timothy
Zahn. 4 million copies would fly off the shelf in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah. So this is going to be our review of Thrawn Alliances. And
just on a side note, real quick, to my wife, who may or may not be listening, there's going to be a lot of fucks this episode. So trust me, this is not going to be one of those episodes where at the end of it you go, you didn't say fuck enough. Oh, there's going to be a lot of fucking fucks.
Well then, so yeah, we're going to do a very brief spoiler-free portion before we get into the spoilers. So if you're here, you haven't read Thrawn Alliances yet, you want to hear our spoiler-free thoughts, we're going to do that at the beginning when we get to that part of the podcast, which will be like, I don't know. 40.
That's at least 40 minutes away, people. Just so you bear with us until we get to that point. But we will let you know.
Yep. And then we'll dip into spoilers and give you our final thoughts. But first, you have a day in Star Wars for us today. Is that correct?
I do. Because it was my job to set up the notes today.
Yes, because I had to work.
So for this day in Star Wars on August 1st, well, it's not today. Today is actually August or July 31st.
Yes.
So but tomorrow, August 1st, 1975, a good year, Lucas completes his third draft of Star Wars, now titled The Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Starkiller. So nice. I thought that pertinent. Hence, we are in Starkiller Studios as we speak.
Yes, the name Starkiller, as we've mentioned before,
Darth,
has been used.
Give us a little bit here.
Has been used multiple times in the Star Wars universe in both canon, legends, and we all know it in current canon from Starkiller Base. But Luke Skywalker's last name used to be Luke Starkiller in previous editions of the movie draft, and then we all know Starkiller from The Force Unleashed.
Right.
I always almost say The Force Awakens every time I think to say The Force Unleashed. Yes.
Did you mention the fact that there was a whole series written about the Blue Harvest?
Yeah.
Or not Blue Harvest.
The Star Wars, the comic book you're talking about, right?
Book, yeah.
Star Wars. They did the Star Wars, which was based, I would imagine, off of this draft because it had Luke Starkiller in it as the main character. So
and which is it's very good. And go back to an early episode. I think we did a whole review on it. If I remember correctly. We got to get the characters.
Yeah,
and I do something with this.
They started filming this. I think it was in early '76, right? Is when they finally started filming the actual movie.
We're gonna go with yes.
Yeah. So this was a near final draft, and you can see a lot of the changes that came about even after this one.
Holy shit! There's a lot going on in the chat.
Oh, holy hell! Well, yes. Hello, Big Lovin' and Scott and Bronco Fett, and I will catch up soon. So, do we want to go ahead and just address the elephant in the room now?
Which elephant is that?
I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the failure of Operation Rogue One.
Okay.
Because as you can see, viewing audience, I am still wearing my favorite tank top. So apparently there were some deals done, and let me do this in my best Thrawn impression. Your mistakes were twofold.
All right. So let's just go ahead. He is in fact wearing the tank top. So we had one of our Bothan spies was actually in possession of said tank top. A transaction was supposed to happen. However, somebody who renamed nameless. Somebody got cold feet and could not do it. Could not go through with it because apparently this guy harbors something in his brain for when something traumatic happens to him. He harbors it and then holds it over the people he loves for decades, or at least a decade and a half. Can I bring up the pillow? So, see the reaction right now for the viewing audience. That got a visual. His face is turning red. Look,
it was my feather pillow.
Listen,
I loved it.
Blood-stained shit box that needed to be thrown away, which was thrown away appropriately, and yet somebody
against my will, without my knowledge,
somebody couldn't let that shit go, and the guilt of this party could not, because of his actions and the fact that he would never ever live it down, means that person got cold feet. And you know what? I can't hold it against you, unknown agent. I can't hold it against you because you have to do what you feel is right. So that means that at some point I'm going to have to take matters in my own hands.
Now, let me tell you what really happened. You see, the mistake you made was twofold. First, you told me of your plan to remove me of my favorite tank top.
Well, that's part of the fun, but
Yes.
regardless.
Then you referred to your Bothan spies, which you only had one avenue of attack. So he told me his plan and told me the exact avenue of attack that was going to happen. So, thinking ahead, I started dropping little hints here and there about how much I absolutely love this tank top. It's so comfortable. I don't know why it fits perfectly. It's so good. I love this thing. And
I'm gonna cut it off of his body right now, live on
so,
YouTube.
hey, back up. I have a pen and I'm not afraid to use it.
I think I know how to use this better than you know how to use that pen.
But see, then you'd risk cutting me, and
it'd be great for the podcast. It's too bad this isn't like real wood, and I could.
So here's the best part about this whole thing. I never even liked this shirt. I thought it was ugly when I first got it. But you know what? Because of what mostly your wife started doing and started saying after this, it became a running joke. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, this is the only thing I will ever wear again. Don't
put the blame on my wife. There will be a purge of this fucking tank top.
And so anyway, I made it very clear to the Bothan spy that how much I loved this shirt. And when the moment I noticed that it was gone, I just started asking, "Where's my favorite shirt? I can't find my favorite shirt." And that's when the cave-in happened. So
you are a sad little man that you would have to take advantage of the Bothan spy to the point where they would feel that bad. And it really, you should really.
There is no guilt here.
You should feel guilty.
No,
you really should.
It's all strategy. So anyway, moving on.
So I didn't realize we were called Operation Rogue One. I have a different operation name for that, but we'll talk about that later. I think Bronco Fett's reacting to the fact that I pulled a knife on you on the podcast.
That's true. This was live, so this could be video evidence for if I come up dead or
the railroad tracks are right there, buddy.
So anyway, we had some news come out this last week. Now, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you watch us on YouTube, you will have already seen our initial reactions to this news that hit. And that
fuck your coasters. Fuck your Game of Thrones fucking coasters.
Dave's having a bad day.
Fuck those coasters.
And so we did a YouTube video reacting to this new episode 9 news with the casting and everything else. It's been
wish it was a beer on this one.
It's been out for a while now. And if you want to hear our full reaction, go back and watch on our YouTube channel. This came out, I don't know, what was it, like 4 days ago, 5 days ago, something like that. Anyway, but there was one omission that happened. So we talked about Kerry Russell on this thing because, you know, it was rumored she was going to be part of the thing. And her name was not in that announcement by StarWars.com.
Factually correct.
Yeah, it was nowhere in that fucking article. Well, like that night or the next day, the Star Wars show.
I haven't heard it in a while.
The Star Wars show put out their own little release video with just the chick from the show, not the stupid dude.
Right.
And they rehashed everything from the article, but they also mentioned Kerry Russell in the cast. So I'm like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because we, you know, or at least I spent a few minutes talking shit about the people who thought she was in it. So.
He for the YouTube live footage, we did talk about. I think we even went to a little bit of a rant about how the, you know, the pundits out there with the rumor mills and all the other things, which I still stand by. Yeah. I really do.
Oh yeah,
fuck the rumor mills. Mm-hmm. However, the fact that StarWars.com initial released that without her name on it, they obviously made some sort of mistake, and then by this time the Star Wars show came out, they did because that was off cycle because they don't usually put out anything till Wednesday.
Sure. And it wasn't a full episode anyway. It was just talking about that.
It was a 10-15 minute thing, which is initially what we intended on doing, and then put out a 45-minute video.
Yeah.
But like we do.
Mm-hmm.
Someone please get Mr. Martin a beer. Yeah, I need one. Or something preferably stronger. This is more for our like saying, look, we went out there when Jason and I saw the news break. We're like, let's get together and let's do something on this right now. And we did, based on the initial stuff that came out on StarWars.com. And God love them, our faithful podcast audience that jumped on there and said, "Hey, here's where they show, here's where whatever fucking name is, Russell was on there."
Kerry
And
Russell.
yeah, Bronco Fett had done a screenshot of the same article, and sure shit, I went to StarWars.com, saw the article, and we're here to tell you what we read was the original release, and then they had a re-release. So I don't think it means anything in the long run. I think it's just probably oversight on their part.
Did they update the article?
Yeah,
they did to add her name into it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Bronco Fett did a screen grab of it and put it up.
Okay.
So, there's no fucking escape. I'm between you and the door right now.
I can't fit through that window.
Yeah, maybe if you push the air conditioner through the thing. But so anyway, yeah. When we initially broke the news, it was based on the original article that came out. It was updated to include Kerry Russell. Again, go back to our YouTube. If you're not a YouTube subscriber, become one. Go to youtube.com/C/all things Star Wars and follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can see the content for what we talked about, sans Kerry Russle. The big takeaways were, though, Billy D. Williams.
Yep. Confirmed.
Mark Hamill.
We're about to say Mark Wahlberg.
I was about to say Mark Williams.
Oh,
I'm the rage. Mark Hamill's return, and also the biggest news probably out of the whole thing was the fact that Carrie Fisher is going to be. They're going to be using the footage from Episode 7.
Yes.
That J.J. Abrams has said that they've got enough footage to do it right. They want to do right by Carrie and her family and the fans and everything else. So I'm anticipating nothing but the appropriate send off.
Yeah.
For Carrie Fisher.
And since we did that video, Carrie's daughter and her brother have both sounded off on this, and they're both in full support of them doing this. So they're really happy that they're doing this, and they're going to pay this final tribute to Carrie and all that. So that's good.
I think it's going to be great. I mean, it was great news. It was exciting. I think one of the big things for us as we were talking about it was getting excited about Episode 9, because we really haven't had anything to be excited about yet. It's just been in the future where there's a lot of worry about how they're going to close the thing out, and I had genuine excitement. Oh, and by the way, John Williams is going to be back to do the score.
What? Yep. And they start filming tomorrow.
That's right, August 1st.
Yeah, August 1st, the day after we record this. So
that's the good stuff from that. You got anything else for that?
No, just
okay.
If you want to hear the full shebang, then go to YouTube. Otherwise, you're gonna miss out. Sorry.
You should put the YouTube link to that episode in the show notes for this
one.
If
I remember, I will do that.
Can I edit that? Do I have the edit ability?
I can give you our login, and then it's just a matter of going in.
We should talk about that offline, because we are professionals.
Yes.
All right.
So, Week in Star Wars. We're going to move into that?
Yes.
All right. You want me to go first?
Yes.
Yeah. So, the first note that you wrote in here for me was actually very fitting. So much for relaxing. So, yes, as you know, I'm home for a very limited amount of time before I have to go back on the road down to Texas for 3 more fucking months. So, that's 3 more months of us doing remote recording and whatnot. So, I was supposed to spend this entire week.
3 more weeks of remote recording, and also 3 more months of remote recording, and also being away from your family for 3 months.
True. Well, I'm just talking about in reference to the podcast. But yes, obviously that's a given.
Trying to keep
understandable. Don't suck up to anybody, because it's not going to work.
I don't. That's trust me. Yes, it has. I have to suck up, because there's going to be plenty of times when. Anyway, go ahead. Just keep going.
So yeah, and I was supposed to be relaxing all this week. That's out the window now, because some shit came up at work. Good shit. They at the last minute decided, oh yeah, that promotion that you've been waiting for fucking 2 years now? Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and give that to you, but you have to get all this stuff done this week. And
you have to get all this stuff done like within the next 24 hours.
Yes,
basically what it came out to.
And then after that, you have to study for this promotion board that we're going to put you in front of at the end of the week. And everything else and a whole bunch of other bullshit that came up that I'm not going to get into. But yeah. So
shenanigans.
no relaxing this week. Canceled my leave up through Friday, so I'm going into work every day this week. However, light at the end of the tunnel. I should be promoted by the time all of this is done, which is actually a lot more money in my pocket, more money to blow on Star Wars shit. Which I bought something. I bought something on Amazon today. So if we record one more time before I leave New Jersey, it'll be here and I'll get to reveal it on the show. But it was a Star Wars thing. So yeah, that's the big thing with that. Over the last few days, first of all, Dave and I had dinner with recent and frequent guest Bob Healy. What was it?
Wasn't that recent?
Really? It felt recent.
Wasn't recent.
I don't know. Time's been flying since I've been down here. But yeah, we also did a yoga class with Bob, and we had dinner with him a few nights ago.
Yep.
So, and then just yesterday, towards the end of the workday, I bumped into other frequent guest, the John. So I've had interactions with both of our frequent guests since I've been back, and I was not expecting to see either of them, honestly, during this break.
Yeah, well, what was nice about we did the yoga class with Bob. It would again, we were initially it was Jason and I helping out Bob because they were looking for people to be in the class.
Yeah,
and
they didn't need help.
No, they didn't. He had plenty of people, and it ended up being a really good experience.
Yeah,
I've had physical therapists tell me, and doctors and neurologists and all these other people tell me I should be doing yoga.
Yeah.
Anyway, might help prevent the Hulk smashing, but the dinner, it digressed to irrelevancies for a little bit. We got our food, and then we had probably a good solid 45-minute Star Wars conversation.
Yeah.
Which Kathy, my wife Kathy, who I love very much, to coin Jason's phrase, not that he loves my wife very much. You know what? Never mind. Anyway,
no comment.
She was saying that we should have done an Instagram live thing or something and of us talking about Star Wars, because inevitably, she knew inevitably it was going to come down to us having some sort of Star Wars conversation.
Oh, sure.
And it varied their ranks from the tattoos to what does it really Obi-Wan's death really mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it got into some deep ethereal things, and it was great. It was great dinner. It was a good time. Yeah.
And it's a reminder that we need to get Bob back on here as soon as we can, once we redesign the space and make more room. And
exactly. So Jason right now is an E7. He's going for E8 for Bronco Fed's edification in the chat. I'm trying to keep up with the chat, people. I'm trying.
Yes.
Really am.
We got a lot going on. Our notes are actually full this week.
Yeah.
So, and then besides bumping into those guys, I was very disappointed. Went to the liquor store today. Was hoping some Oktoberfest beer was going to be on the shelf.
Thank fucking God.
It was not.
This shit would have been thrown around this fucking studio. It would have been Darth Bane-esque fucking destruction, fucking shit flying around. Jason cowering in the corner as I fucking just started beating him to death with giant fucking Darth Vader. And then taking the fucking tank top.
So instead, I'm having Flying Fishes Abbey Double beer. Flying Fishes, the brewery that's right over there. It's a mile that way is where they brew all this
very
shit.
Close. Yes. Very close. So, we should talk them into letting us do a podcast.
I know. Ooh, that would be good.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. So that's it. That's all I've been doing. A lot of work bullshit. Ooh, and then reading books, of course. And we'll get into my Thrawn experience.
Give me your notepad. I gotta write something down. Go ahead, keep talking.
I was done actually. So.
God damn it! I gotta write this idea down. Iron Hill fundraiser.
Iron Hill. Ooh, I like Iron Hill.
I know you do.
It's my favorite restaurant around here.
So my week in Star Wars.
Yes. Is this where I need to?
No,
myself?
not yet.
Okay.
So, okay, I put in there finished Thrawn. Obviously, I brought the copy with me. That's the first thing. The second thing is, while I was helping the John move some stuff over the weekend, I ended up at a Target because I got there a little early. I ended up going over to Target and use the bathroom because Target bathrooms are usually pretty clean. So I go in there, use the bathroom.
John's bathrooms aren't.
No, this was in Pottstown. It was it was out in the middle of nowhere. Went in, started meandering around Target because I had time, and I went and I found.
Ooh.
So some Lego Star Wars on clearance. Now it's not a great clearance. However, this is a cool set because I don't know if you could see it but this comes with Boba Fett, Han Solo, like fresh out of carbonite, a Chewbacca in binders, and a skiff guard.
Nice.
And it's basically the skiff scene.
Yeah. Oh, and it's got the fucking it's got the fucking Rocky Horror, or
It's
not
got
Rocky
the
Horror,
Rocky
but
Horror version of the fucking.
Little Shop of Horrors, I should say. Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes, you're
Starlight
correct.
Pit.
Yeah, you fucking set me up for that.
Yeah.
Bitch. But anyway, I thought it was cool. Figured we could have it here in the studio, and I wouldn't be violating the edict. It was inexpensive, and what I really wanted it for was for the fucking Boba Fett Lego character, because I don't know that I have another one of those. So throw it in a pile over there.
All right, we will
so
add this to the list of things that we have in the studio.
Even bigger reveal.
Ooh.
So my cousin Rick, is departed. He departed yesterday. No, Sunday.
Does the Alaska?
Heading to Alaska. And so he had some things that he wanted to, like, put stuff away and put stuff in storage or whatever, because it wasn't taking everything out to Alaska with him. And one of the things that he decided to donate to the studio was
get the fuck out.
Yes.
Holy shit. Show that to the video audience.
So this is a Welby wall clock. Okay, I'm gonna get it without the glare here if I can. Trying. Okay, minimal glare. But so it's an Empire Strikes Back wall clock. Okay, original circa 1981. It's got trademark Lucasfilm Limited 1981. It's got Darth Vader, 3 stormtroopers, and it says Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. It is fucking cool.
Yeah, and it's got to be from 1980, from when Empire first came out.
It says it right at the bottom, 1981.
Oh, perfect.
So the plexiglass on the front of it's a little cracked, which Rick said that it could be replaced, but it actually probably adds a little bit of ambiance to it.
Sure.
And I think if we put a good battery in it, it would function as a a working clock.
That would be fucking great.
So if not, then we between the two of us being somewhat mechanical and nerds, we can make this fucking clock work. But what are you doing?
I just, for some reason, I thought I didn't actually start the recording, and as you were showing that, I'm like, fuck, did I actually start recording? But I did. So
yeah, because remember the mute.
I don't know. My brain just
professionals. We're professionals. But this was the big one. He had actually brought this up the other day, and I think this will find a place right there for now.
That is beautiful.
Yes. So Rick, thank you very much. I hope you made it safely out to Kodiak, because I haven't texted you yet.
Yes, thank you, Rick.
And that would be treasured amongst the artifacts here at the Starkiller Studios. That's it. That's all I had. So that's all I had from gifts and prizes anyway.
Yeah.
That's all the happy stuff. Oh, the other happy thing. So I did we had to, for my marketing class that I just finished, we had to do this TED Talk style presentation. Right.
Yep.
No more than 18 minutes, like TED Talk stuff. So I think I talked about it on the last podcast where, I did our podcast and the marketing, everything. Fucking, I got 100 on it.
Nice.
Which is like, yes. Because I was a little bit worried that if I didn't get enough of the marketing keywords and stuff like that, apparently. And I got a great write-up from the instructor about using something that I actually knew and was able to show it practically, and then had good interaction with the camera, with the audience, and everything else.
Nice.
So yeah, it was great.
So does that mean it's going up on YouTube soon?
Well, it's on the drive. I put it on the Google Drive. So maybe we'll see.
Okay.
If there's a demand from you, the audience out there, to see the presentation, then maybe we can make it go up on YouTube. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Our interaction like this is so natural that I don't even think about being on a camera or anything like that.
Yeah.
During the presentation, it's just me talking into the thing. I kind of scripted out most of it, so it doesn't seem as much like me to me.
Oh, really?
Like, I couldn't wear my glasses because of the glare, because I was fucking the glare was
Yes,
frustrating me.
that we dealt with for 5 months.
Yeah,
in
so I'm like,
Mississippi,
I'm no glasses on, but I was wearing a podcast T-shirt, and you know, I had the slides come up. So I don't know. It depends. No, if it was on YouTube, I couldn't just put it in a private group. I don't think it's over 2 gigs, so it's not something
we could make it private on YouTube to where only specific people could see it, and then post the link to.
All right. Well, let's see.
Group.
So
We'll figure it
far,
out.
so far, everyone in the chat wants to see it, but we'll throw it out there. We'll see what happens.
All right.
But it's already uploaded into the Google Drive. So for people that want to, you know, if we want to share it through that way, through the Google Drive, we could do that with individuals also.
Yeah.
Without putting it on YouTube and doing a conversion. But anyway,
we'll figure it out. But
I got 100, so it makes me happy.
Congratulations on the 100. Good job.
So I'm all the way over here, right? So I'm on my way over here, and I'm driving down Clements Bridge Road, which is, you know, coming out of my town, and you know, there's a delayed green from where I'm at, and it's downhill. So Clements Bridge, like in Runnymede, we have it's the highest point in South Jersey, right? So we have this big hill that goes up towards, like, if you follow me on Instagram, you see me take pictures from Irish Hill all the time. Where Irish Hill is basically the highest point in South Jersey.
Yeah.
So you drive over that, and I'm coming down to a traffic light, and I'm sitting there, and I drive a manual, and I'm just sitting there waiting for the light to turn. In my side view mirror, I see this fucking cyclist.
Guy on a bicycle.
A cyclist. Saying a guy on a bicycle would imply that, hey, it's just some guy on a bicycle. No, this is a guy who's decided he's got a $3,000 bike. He's got the full fucking outfit on, the slick back helmet, like he's in the Tour of fucking France.
Yeah.
And he's like waving at me because the light just turned green, and I have to shift because I was just sitting there in neutral. So I have to like shift and get around this curve, but I wasn't going fast enough. So he's like having this little mini freak out.
You weren't going fast enough for the cyclist.
Let me fucking tell you something. I'm talking to you cyclists out there I was one of you. Okay. I used to go out. I used to do the city to shore rides. I fucking, you have the jersey on because guess what? You know why you wear that shit? It's a uniform. It has convenient pockets. It's fucking, padded fucking shit so your balls don't fucking hurt when you're riding for miles and miles. I get it. I get the uniform. I'm glad you're wearing a fucking helmet. I'm glad you have enough fucking, expendable fucking income where you can spend all that money on a goddamn bike. I know why you were freaking the fuck out also, because you would have had to unclip your fucking foot to be able to and put your foot on the ground while I made that turn. You wanted to just you were on the brakes. You were waiting for the light to turn green. And because I wasn't going fast enough, you would have had to unclip your fucking foot out of your pedal. Guess what? Fuck you. Fuck you and all these other motherfuckers who think that you are God's goddamn gift that I have to drive in the other lane of fucking traffic to get in a head on to give you fucking space. Guess what? You have fucking rules. Those rules mean that you're just like another fucking car. Unless you have your own fucking bike lane, when you're in the middle of a 2-lane road, guess what? You're a fucking car. That's the rules. You don't fucking sneak by me, and you don't fucking throw a fit because I wasn't going fast enough because you would have had to unclip your fucking foot. Boo fucking who? I would have loved to have just fucking put my car in park or fucking hit the emergency brake, stopped, got out, and then fucking bounced your sorry ass off the fucking front of my goddamn car. Because fuck you. The reaction that you fucking had because of, my perceived, I wasn't going fucking fast enough. We're talking like not like a, hey, buddy. We're talking like flailing of arms, obviously probably cursing at me. Well, I had the fucking radio on. You know what? Fuck you. You're lucky I didn't fucking run you over, you stupid piece of shit. And you know what? I wouldn't have nothing would have happened to me because I had a green light. I was driving appropriately with my turn signal on. You were trying to fucking cut through because you have some sort of, I'm riding a $3,000 fucking bicycle, so I should be able to go coast down this hill fucking without anybody in my way. Go fuck yourself. And everyone that thinks that you're fucking above all that shit, there's rules of the goddamn road for a reason. And that's why people get fucking killed. You're the reason. With that fucking attitude, you're the reason that cyclists get killed. And people on motorcycles as well. The people that decide, oh, I'm going to cut through the fucking shoulder, or I'm going to, oh, no, I'm going to slip through this traffic. You're the ones that are going to get fucking killed. And you know what? The person in the car is not going to get hurt. Nothing's going to happen to them except for the goddamn trauma of fucking killing somebody on a bike because they were being a fucking asshole. You're pieces of shit. Obey the fucking rules. And this asshole, if I see him in my fucking neighborhood again, which guess what? I know he doesn't live in my fucking neighborhood because nobody can afford that fucking bike. Like, I know you. I was one of you. I know what being a cyclist is. I know what being a good sharer of the road is. That's why you follow the fucking rules, so you don't get hit by a car and get killed, you stupid sack of shit. I wanted to stop the car so fucking bad and just lay this guy out. Like, fuck you and your fucking bike. Oh, and then I'll throw your fucking bike under my car and run it over. Because it'll snap like that.
I don't know how to follow that.
Fuck cyclists. Yeah, it pissed me off so fucking bad. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I've ridden total, when I was a kid, I'm probably thousands of miles on a bike. You follow the fucking rules. That way you don't get hurt.
Yeah.
And you know what? People still get hurt because accidents happen, and I get it. But you want to be a flying fucking douchebag, and you want to do some stupid shit, and then you want to get an attitude when I'm doing my best to make the fucking turn legally. What am I supposed to do? You want me to fucking, I'll power slide the BMW through this fucking intersection with from a dead stop so that you don't have to unclip your fucking foot out of the pedal, you lazy sack of shit. You were going downhill anyway. Stop it. Just fucking stop. God help this motherfucker if I see him again. Because you know what? He's going to wear the same fucking outfit.
Yeah.
I know exactly what this guy looks like. I mean, I had the fucking sight picture memorized. Fuck you. That's it. I'm done.
I wouldn't want to be that bicyclist. That's all I'll say.
Just be like anybody who rides a motorcycle who has ridden a no shit cycling where you get up and you're going for a long fucking ride. It is a pain in the ass to unclip the fucking pedals. I know. I've been there.
But it's part of the gig, man. I mean,
you stop at the fucking light just like you're supposed to. Stop weaving in and out of fucking traffic. That's why people get killed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't yell at me because I'm not doing something quick enough for you. Go fuck yourself. Oh, fuck. Oh, Jesus Christ. I wanted it. And that was like, I was 10 minutes away from Jason's house when that shit happened. I'm still fuck you. Yeah, I like Bronco Fett's little fucking chat icon. Bicyclist, fire, and then I guess it's a ball. I don't know.
Yeah. So I could tell when Dave first got here, he was already aggravated. So now I know why. Because like right before he got here,
you know,
some asshole was pulling this shit.
The greater objective to all that is how bad fucking people suck and how many people think the world fucking revolves around them.
Mm-hmm.
My fucking God in heaven. So many people should not exist on this fucking planet.
I think you just described half of the people in this country. Thinks the world revolves around them and everything else.
What Jason and I should have is a shelter dedicated podcast. Because this is the experiences that we had in the evacuation shelter.
Oh my God.
What will just change how you feel about other human beings.
Yeah.
After you go through something like that.
We've hinted at this
yes.
multiple times throughout the course of the podcast, but yeah, we'll save that story for another time. But yeah, we've got a ton of non-Star Wars stories to tell.
Yes.
And we'll get to them all, I'm sure.
All right, so Dave rant complete. I'm sorry.
Rant complete.
Listen, those of you who are cyclists and that do it right, this isn't for you, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it right. And you're probably just as frustrated as I am about all the douchebags that are out there. Anyway, So, Thrawn Alliances.
Yes.
There it is, right here.
So, yeah, we read that this week. It came out on the 24th, so exactly 1 week ago.
All right, so I know you're going to get into it, but I'm making you, because I'm dying. I want to know about it.
Go for it.
So, you got it on the iPad.
Yes.
And then
yes,
you also got it on the audiobook.
Yes. Okay, so as everybody knows, I listened to the first Thrawn on an audiobook when I drove down to Mississippi 5 months ago. I had only planned to just read the normal book while I was here because it's cheaper and I do like to read still, and audiobooks, it's tough to just sit and dedicate time to an audiobook like when you're at home. It's easy when you got a fucking 18-hour drive to Mississippi from New Jersey, but when you're just at home in New Jersey, an audiobook kind of doesn't really make sense even with the commute that we have, because it would still take a week to get through. So I got the normal book, I was reading it on the iPad. 2 or 3 chapters in, it was really just kind of slogging along for me. Like I was having real trouble just getting through it. Like I'd sit there and I'd read 2 or 3 pages and I'd just be like, or I'd just be like, this is not catching my interest right now. And I was to the point where I'm like, I can't do this like this. Something with the way he started this book was not catching me to the point where it's just a page turner for me. So I'm like, all right, I gotta either change up my style or we're gonna have to fucking push this podcast off like 2 weeks because it's gonna take me that long to get through the fucking book. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I loved the audiobook of the first Thrawn so much because the guy Mark Thompson did such a good job of all of his performances and reading of the book. I'm like, all right, let me try to switch this up and do the audiobook and see if that helps me. And it did. Once I got the audiobook, I was done with this book in like another day.
Nice.
So
nice.
Something about the way this book started, and we'll get into it when we get into more of our spoilers and everything else. It started slow for me, and I was having real trouble getting into it. But the audiobook, because of the production quality and everything else, and the voices that the guy does and everything else, it brought me in right away. There was like a sense of familiarity with the audiobook.
Nice.
So I had to switch it up a little bit, but eventually when I did, I just got right through it.
Yeah, and I know Bronco Fett was trying to help out by posting links to YouTube that had the audiobook and everything else. And as soon as you clicked on it, these are a violation of YouTube's blah 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 blah. Yeah. So nice try, Bronco Fett. We appreciate it.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's basically what I did. And we might as well start with our non-spoilers. So right now, no spoilers, but we're going to give initial impressions for the people who still want to read the book.
Yeah. I did put in the notes just for timeline purposes. So we spoke about Thrawn. So Thrawn actually comes after the Solo movie.
The first Thrawn.
Right, the first Thrawn.
Okay.
So you got Solo movie, then Thrawn.
And we know this for sure.
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, okay.
This is why I brought the book, people. This is why we're professionals. So you can see you get Tarkin, the Solo movie, and then Thrawn.
Oh, no shit. All right.
So that's for the video audience. They can just take a quick glance at that.
Okay.
So then after the Thrawn, the first Thrawn book, you had A New Dawn, which is basically the Rebels lead-in.
Right.
And then you get Thrawn Alliances.
Okay.
As far as what we're looking at in the timeline.
Yes.
So I found it interesting because there's so many tie-ins to Rebels as we go through the book. It kind of weaves in and out of like some of this timeline that it makes sense that, okay, have some setup with A New Dawn and then go into Thrawn Alliances.
Right.
As far as making the timing work.
And Alliances is hot off the heels of season 3 of Rebels. Like they directly refer to season 3 of Rebels at the very beginning of Thrawn Alliances. Or I'm assuming that was season 3, not season 4.
It's a little column A, a little column B. I mean, I haven't watched all of season 3 yet.
Okay.
So I can't comment to that specifically.
Well, they made references to something that happened in Rebels that I didn't know about because I haven't seen seasons 3 and 4. So, yeah, it's interesting the way that went down. But yeah, so non-spoilers, generally, The story is it takes place in two different points in time. It takes place during the Clone Wars, where Thrawn and Anakin Skywalker have their first encounter, which was hinted at in the first Thrawn book. Then another portion of this takes place in the current time, which is the time after New Dawn that Dave talked about. So we're actually in two different time periods during this book, and it's a parallel between Thrawn and Anakin's interactions in the one timeline, and then in the new timeline, Thrawn and Vader, and they go to the same locations that they went to in the first timeline. Again, this is spoiler free. This is very generic synopsis. Right. So initial thoughts, Dave, spoiler free, of Thrawn for the people who still want to read the book and who are going to turn the podcast off after this point.
I enjoyed the book. I don't know that I enjoyed it as much as the original Thrawn book. And I'll get into that probably more in the spoiler section.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. I did not dislike this book. It was good, but I liked the original Thrawn a lot more.
Yeah, and you know what it was? There was slow points in this book where some development was happening that was, I believe, necessary, but wasn't exactly the most exciting thing ever.
Right.
And we're coming from a place where now we know who Thrawn is. We know where Thrawn came from based on the first book.
Yep.
We know Vader pretty well.
Yeah.
And Anakin Skywalker. So we're going into this knowing the two characters, and then to have to develop more story, I think got a little monotonous, but not so much to the point where I was like, okay, because I've run into that with other books. It happened to me with Last Shot. It happened to me with a couple of the other books, Phasma for sure. But where I was just like, I'll put this down. I'll pick it up a little bit later.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we also had a timeline where we were trying to make sure we had the book read by, but
yeah, especially with Phasma.
You know, it took me, you know, I stayed up late and finished most of the book. So, but it's definitely, I think it's a must read, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's a must read because there are things that are going on that are bringing you to there are portions of the Outer Rim that I think are going to be relevant later.
Yes,
and we'll get
again.
I
was going to get into that when we get into the spoiler section.
If you read the books, boy, Bronco Fett is foaming at the mouth. I would highly recommend reading the book. Don't have the same expectation that you had at Thrawn. There are some slower points in it, but however, there's a lot of material there.
Yes.
Way more than we're going to get even in our spoiler section here, because I think I'd have to reread the book to pick up everything. It's kind of watching a movie for the second time where you're like, how much crap did I really miss? And I probably will do that after I see the rest of Rebels.
Yeah.
Like once I see season 3 of Rebels, I've seen all of Rebels because I saw season 4. I jumped the gun and watched season 4. So I think for me, after seeing season 4, and once I'm finished with season 3, I would almost guarantee I'm going to read this book.
Yeah.
And just so that, all right, let me gather all the information now that I have everything to conclude this timeline, basically. But it's worth it. It's worth reading.
Yeah, sure. And that's the big thing. If you're only here for the spoiler-free part, yeah, it's worth the read. Go read it. Not bad at all. I mean, Timothy Zahn cannot write a bad book. I would imagine
the writing is good. It's just there's some setup. There's some setup stuff in there.
And
you don't necessarily expect. Yeah. And that's the thing. I wasn't necessarily expecting the particulars.
Yes.
And it being unexpected, then he's using his portable sign. All right, so go.
All right. Well, let's finish our thoughts, and then before we get into spoilers, we'll.
Are you going to mention this Batuu thing?
Yeah. So one of the main planets that this takes place on is Batuu. Not a spoiler because I think it's even in the fucking jacket of the book. So the reason I bring this up is for anybody who doesn't know, Star Wars or fucking Disneyland and Disney World both have an entire Star Wars section of their theme parks opening up. And they announced, this was God a fucking year ago almost, that the planet that these additions to the park is on the planet of Batu, because they wanted to pick a planet that wasn't part of the normal Star Wars timeline, somewhere that was on the edge of the galaxy, because the official name of the park is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Right.
Which we know from reading the book that this is on the border of the unknown regions.
Right.
So, yeah, Batu is officially the planet that you're supposed to be on when you go into the Star Wars land of either Disneyland in California or Disney World in Florida, which both open up next year, 2019.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So,
and in the spoiler section, I'm going to mention why I think that's a bad idea.
yeah, it's a weird that they would include it in this,
Right.
of all things,
Because
of all
there's
pieces of canon.
Because honestly, it describes Batu, and then I don't know that it's a very Disney friendly thing.
Yeah. So before we get into our spoiler section, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back after this word from our sponsor.
All right.
Well, I got to write down the time. 52. Break.
Scott Rasmussen says I should have or I said that I could legitimately have a daily rant show.
And, I'm telling you.
And he said he'd listen and watch.
We should do another podcast separate from the All Things Star Wars podcast, where it's just us bullshitting about everything non-Star Wars. We could call it like All Things America or something. Ooh. We'll our theme song could be the fucking theme from Team America. America.
Fuck yeah. All right. So while Jason's peeing, I guess it's my job to entertain. I haven't had to do this in a while. A word from the sponsor. Yeah, God only knows what Jason's going to put in here. Yeah, that fucking cyclist, man. God, that pissed me off. You have no idea. Like I'm already the Dave on the podcast. I don't know. Generally speaking, is I don't know. Might be like Jason said, like an easygoing guy. He's known me for a long time now. I'm always like just one. Like my fuse is so short that it could explode at any bloody moment. And that guy nearly. Oh God, there was. Oh, that was bad. It was just bad. The guy's just a complete fucking jerk off. You know, you can look at somebody for half a second and go like, you sir are a fucking jerk off. Which, you know, listen, I drive a BMW. I didn't like go like, oh, I need to have a BMW to drive. I'm a Ford guy, right? I want a pickup truck. But we got a great deal on this car, and now I drive a BMW. The BMW, apparently, you can't drive a BMW without automatically assuming. There's me giving Jason the finger and his tank top. You can't drive a BMW with automatically being classified as a complete fucking tool and or douchebag, most likely both. Because I want to tell you right now, I drive that thing like a complete asshole. I can't help it. When I want to fucking.
Can you imagine after listening to that rant? Can you imagine how he would drive?
First of all, in Jersey, if you're not going, there's like all kinds of shit. Go on the internet looking for Jersey drivers, right? Like if you're on the fucking turnpike and you're not doing 78 miles an hour in the right hand lane, you're going too fucking slow. That's the right hand lane in a 65 mile an hour zone. In 2 lanes of traffic, like you have to fucking be booking it. And when you're driving a high performance sports car, which is it's a 3 Series, it's not like this super high. I'm not driving M3 here, but it's got sport tuned suspension and it fucking hugs the curves. And I enjoy driving it. It's fun to drive. I've driven sports cars before. It's fun to be able to drive this every day. Now, and unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think BMW drivers get the reputation they do, because their cars, that car outperforms my wife's Focus like you would not believe. And I'm going to drive it like an asshole. I'm sorry. And I get it. I don't know what to say. I get it. I'm in a BMW. You're automatically going to fucking, be like, oh, this guy's an asshole. I'm an asshole. I am, regardless of the BMW. I'm an asshole. But if you're this guy riding this fucking bike, that bike legitimately was probably cost as much as my car did when I bought it, and so that means that guy's driving some sort of luxury automobile, probably a Lexus or some other piece of shit, maybe Mercedes Benz that he's got.
Probably works in Philly.
You don't have to work in Philly to be a douchebag.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, this guy was a complete fucking d-bag, and I just wanted to murder him. I wanted to tear off his arms and beat him to death with them.
So
Utah drivers are not worse. I'm telling you, this is a special kind of driving out here. First of all, you're in the Northeast Corridor, but there's more people on the fucking New Jersey Turnpike right now than exist in the state of Utah.
He's not lying.
So there's no fucking way. And they're all driving 85 miles an hour. And God forbid, if you're not in the right lane to make your fucking turn, guess what? Here it comes. You're either, because on a turnpike, you're going to either drive for another fucking 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Or you're going to fucking like, here I go. And you fucking cut across the lanes.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it happens.
I see it all the time. So before we get back to the actual podcast, this is all getting cut out, by the way. Tom, you mentioned that Mark Thompson did the audiobook for all 3 fucking Bane books. Is that correct? If that's the case, I got to find those. So
I would be interested in that, honestly. I'd probably put that on.
Yeah.
My wife could tolerate listening to it at night.
Yeah, Mark Thompson, he's really good at reading these books. Like, I can't say enough good stuff about him. So are we ready to get back to the show?
Sure.
All right, so I'll do it. 59, 20 seconds of silence until then, starting now. And we're back. So
before we get into it,
yes.
So our offline conversation had a lot to do about New Jersey driving and being an asshole or whatever. And Bronco Fetch tried to make the argument in Utah using turn signals as tantamount to giving away info to the enemy, which is hilarious. It's a hilarious statement. I love it.
Yeah.
On the New Jersey Turnpike, when you're traveling on it, there is you have the big light up LED signs, right, to tell you shit like, don't text and drive, buckle up or whatever.
Yeah.
I was on the turnpike the other day. They had a sign on there that says, when you change lanes, state law requires you to use your turn signal.
Didn't we talk about this last week?
State law requires you to use your turn signal. It had to be on a sign on the fucking turnpike to tell you to use your turn signal when you're changing lanes. Now back to the show.
So this is the spoiler alert section. So yes, from here on out, we're going to go full on spoilers for Thrawn Alliances.
There will be spoilers.
Yes, there will be spoilers. Oh my God. So if you don't want to hear any, now would be the time to tune out. You've been warned. At this point, fuck off. We don't care. So spoilers.
Lean back in my chair for this one.
You made a couple of notes in the beginning, so do you want to cover these real quick before we get into some other stuff?
So, first one, Papa Palpatine sends Vader and Thrawn out on an adventure.
Yes,
that's basically how it starts.
Yeah,
and the first line is, "I have sensed a disturbance in the Force." Which I thought was a good way to start the book.
Mm-hmm.
I equated to you can call me Ahab.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, like, so straight away, like you get an impression of like, okay, this is the Emperor's pushing all of this, which leads you to a lot of conclusions. One, if the like chapter 1, if we're talking about chapter 1 is the Emperor basically, I won't say he's toiling, just Len Brown just finished the book 30 minutes ago. Good job, buddy.
All right.
You can keep listening.
Yeah.
Chapter 1 is basically like, to me, is proving that the Emperor is manipulating. This is the Emperor manipulating the entire thing.
Yeah,
You know,
he's been the puppet master this whole time.
yeah. So you look on the back of the book, it says, "Time for Thrawn to face his future. Time for Vader to face his past." That's basically what they said. That's chapter 1.
Yeah, that's essentially what Emperor or what Palpatine thought to himself. Because
Right.
like, especially if you listen to the audiobook version of this, he does it in Palpatine's voice. Time for Thrawn to face his future. Time for Vader to face his past.
So you right away you're seeing that the Emperor is taking his two probably most valuable chess pieces and putting them out there to, whether it's to solve a problem that is out on the outer rim, into the unknown regions, or the problem that he anticipates between Vader and Thrawn.
Well, yeah, and I think he gets a feeling. Well, first of all, he knows based on the original Thrawn book that Thrawn and Anakin had interactions in the past, because Thrawn directly tells him, "Oh yes, Anakin Skywalker spoke highly of you when we had this interaction." So Palpatine knows,
right?
And obviously he knows Vader is Anakin. So you get that feeling in this first prologue that he's already intentionally putting these two together based on that previous experience, and kind of based on the fact that they're probably not going to play nice, but they're going to kind of have to be forced to play nice in order to do his bidding. And it feels like a test. It feels like it's going to be a test for both of them, in Palpatine's eyes.
I feel like everything that we went through with the original Vader comic series, where everything that was going on was basically the Emperor testing Vader.
Yes.
At some point, like, here's all those fucking droids and the half people and the force sensitive whatever beings that dude cooked up.
Yeah, the cyborgs and all that.
I'm not good with names today. I apologize. Fucking too much angry bicyclist bullshit.
Yeah.
But you get that impression that everything the Emperor is doing is some sort of test. He's continuously fucking with people, just to see, like, well, where's this going to go today? It's almost like the Emperor's sitting there taking a shit, going, like, I think it'd be great to have Vader and Thrawn out on a mission together for some chiss nonsense. Let's do it.
Yeah, do it. That's good. I like that.
Emperor taking a shit. Take one.
Yeah. So, and ultimately, this book boils down to that first interaction between Thrawn and Anakin, paralleled with what Vader and Thrawn are being sent out to do by Palpatine. And they just so happen to both take place at the exact same point in the galaxy.
Right.
This planet Batu and this other planet, fucking Makiv. I think that's how it's pronounced. If it's pronounced differently, correct me, Tom. I know you will. So I think it's Makiv, but it's spelled Mokivj.
Yeah, you guys listen to the audiobook, so I have zero, like, this. I look at that and go, like, it's a bunch of fucking letters.
Yeah.
I would go with Makivij.
Yeah.
There's a J in it.
Yeah.
I guess the J's silent. I don't know.
J and silent. Bob?
That's a reach.
Never mind.
It's a stretch.
I hear J and silent, and I just immediately go to Kevin Smith. So anyway.
So that's chapter 1, basically, in a nutshell.
Yeah. And they both get sent off, and then the story bounces back and forth between Anakin and Padme, and what's going on with them in the past during the time of the Clone Wars after Attack of the Clones. So him and Padme are already married. They're already boning. Anakin's already had his hand lobbed off because he talks about his fucking robot hand and all that bullshit.
Right.
And then it also takes place in the time of, like, Rebels.
Right. So remember that whole thing we were talking about where, like, Star Wars with flashbacks? Yeah, this book fucking filled with them.
Yeah.
And it goes back and forth. Not as annoyingly so as Last Shot, though. Those who have read Last Shot, like, they go back and forth in time. Some of it's relevant and some of it's not, and annoying.
Yeah.
There's obvious relevance to what's going on with Thrawn. And let me. Well, I was saving for the spoiler portion of this fucking podcast,
which we're in.
Like, this is why I'm going to tell you why this had slow times, and it starts with a P. It's Padme.
Yes.
Anything that has Padme in it starts bogging down like fucking like quicksand in The Princess Bride.
And
it's unfortunate. It really is, because there's obvious, like, okay, Padme's going to run off on some fucking adventure because and here we go into some plotline things by accident, but
no, that's fine.
Padme's is chasing after one of her handmaidens, who's apparently a super spy.
Yeah.
And has sent back information that says, "Hey, I need you to meet me here so we can investigate this particular thing that's happening."
Separatists are up to something.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah.
Not even that. I don't even know that she gave that much information. It was more like a call to, like, "Hey, I need you to come out here because I found something."
But spoiler alert, it was a separatist.
So. So Padme's like, "I'm going out there," and Anakin's like, "No, you shouldn't, because I can't help you." And Padme's like, "Oh, you'll help me when you need to." And then they like hug, and then chapter 2
and that's where I was initially just like, "Fuck."
The Padme stuff. This is what's going to make the Padme book so fucking hard to read, because it's going to be a book full of this shit.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm looking at the camera. I should be looking at you.
Either way,
it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Fuck all yous.
No, because they're like the third person in the room.
This is true. They're sitting there in the chat, even though they're sitting here, they're just listening quietly, which is nice. Because we haven't said anything stupid yet. But I really do. I think that the parts, if you're going to talk about what slowed this book down a little bit, it was the Padme stuff.
And it starts off with that shit. After this prologue with Palpatine sending these guys off, it immediately gets into Padme and fucking Anakin and a whole bunch of their shit for a long time.
And let me tell you something that is consistent throughout the Star Wars universe. If there's nothing consistent at all, it's the fact that Padme and Anakin's interactions are all, it's just over the top, swarmy, just fucking like, "I will do anything to come get you."
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, dude, calm it the fuck down. Like, if you've watched Clone Wars at all, you've seen that this shit has happened. We watched 2 seasons of Clone Wars. There's 6 episodes where fucking Padme gets in trouble and Anakin has to come fucking save her. You figure by this point in the fucking timeline, as I smash shit, this point in the fucking timeline, that he would be like, "All right, let me be able to be calm and do some." Yeah. No, he's a fucking bipolar lunatic. And every time there's fucking every time his dick quivers because fucking Padme's around, he loses his fucking mind. Like, "Oh, I can't focus on tactics or anything else." I'm like, you're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot. And every time I hear the idiocy, it's in the Anakin voice.
Well, I will counter that with this argument. Imagine you're an 18-year-old kid, and
he's not 18 by this point.
It's still pretty fucking young. But just imagine you're a young man at that point, raging hormones, and your wife is fucking 24-year-old Natalie Portman. Just think about that for a minute. And just imagine that. And like, your whole goal in life is to impregnate this woman.
Imagine it for a minute.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're talking about his obsession with Padme, I get it. Like, when I was that age, if I knew that fucking Natalie Portman was like 24-year-old, like 5 years older than me, Natalie Portman was my wife, fuck yeah, that's going to be my only thought.
So, but listen, this is fucking Thrawn Alliances. This is not a fucking preteen
That is
novel.
true. That is true.
So there's a point where you have to, like, I get it. He has issues with, he has to protect her at all costs, because at this point he's already foreseen her death. Okay.
Has he?
Yeah, I'm almost positive. I think they mentioned it in the book.
I must have missed that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, please, everyone out there. Yeah, he's like 13 around Padme. I agree, Lane Brown.
He's just running around with a 13-year-old hard on, just like, I love you.
It just happens to be a fucking, baby killing lightsaber. But no, I really think that for the book, to have, I think the story group falls back into that too much. They allude to, in this book, in Alliances, they allude to Anakin thinking back to what happened to what he did to
the Sand People. Yeah.
And what's amazing is he uses that as a justification for further violence. As a, like, this is like, I had to do this because this was protecting this person.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go do that again. That's like, oh, okay, that's a real Jedi thing to do.
Oh, and way to go. Yeah, and by the way, if you think what he did to the Sand People was bad, what he does by the end of this fucking book, the Sand People pale in comparison to the fucking essential genocide that he fucking committed at the end of this fucking book.
Yeah.
Not 100% intentional, but still, he fucked up.
Yeah,
he fucked up royally. so
anyway, I brought up the Padme thing and I put it in the notes because I think I don't know that we're going to go chapter by chapter, which I don't think we should, but
plus we don't have time.
There is definitely a point as it's going back and forth between what's going on with Vader and Thrawn, and even some of the stuff with Vader and Thrawn. I enjoyed this book. So as I say these things, don't take it as like, we're critiquing the book.
Sure.
So we're something that I thought was probably a little unnecessary was the Thrawn Vader interactions that were just, some of it just seemed forced, I think, where it was like, okay, you don't have to have this conversation between Thrawn and Vader. The allegories to Thrawn knowing Vader in the past, and
well, that's a big thing.
But I think maybe it's because we know it, and at Vader. Oh, on that note, like, Vader refers to Anakin as the Jedi.
Yes.
Like in the third person, which I don't think we've encountered anywhere else. Like when Vader basically, like, anytime he's ever talked about Anakin, like, Anakin's dead.
Yes.
Right. But when he has memories of what had happened, like when he has memories of what was going on in the factory, when you get to
Makiv.
When you get to Makiv and they have this like flashbacks of what was happening in a factory with the droids and the cortosis and all the other shit. He when he's referring to those memories and he's having them as the Jedi, I just thought that was really, really it was a good way to write that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm going to kill it.
Yeah. Well, no, because he was talking about Vader and like the struggle that he's having to completely eradicate this Anakin Skywalker part of him. Like he fights it tooth and nail, even though he still knows that that's part of him and he has those memories. And here's the big thing, because starting at the beginning of this book, we weren't sure if Thrawn knew that Vader was Anakin. Right. Even though we know how fucking smart Thrawn is, we know how easy he can figure shit out. We weren't 100% sure at the very beginning whether or not he knew Vader was Anakin.
And Thrawn was 100% sure in the beginning.
Oh, yeah. And we find out as the readers very early on that Thrawn knows. He knows that Vader is formerly Anakin Skywalker. And he throws little verbal hints out here and there to kind of almost like fucking with Vader a little bit.
And Vader's like, I can just see his throat and I can just choke him the fuck out right now.
And throughout the whole book, you can tell that's what Vader wants to do. He wants to just fucking eliminate Thrawn the way he does every other fucking admiral who pisses him off.
Yeah, exactly.
But he knows Palpatine will have his ass.
Well, and that's the other thing too. We see in Thrawn, like, Vader's sidebar real quick. So Stupid Spin Videos, which I believe is Bronco Fett's brother, says
he's got a lot of aliases.
Who thought it was a good idea to trigger Tom on the subject of Utah drivers? Well, if you were tuned in earlier, you would have heard me go on a rant about cyclists, and it just kind of evolved from there. So that's how we got to that point.
You'll have to listen to this episode from the beginning. So,
and while we're on a break, we'll take this opportunity to refill our. Is there ice in there?
No.
Oh. Why would you have a cooler bag with no ice in it?
Oh, it's got ice packs.
Oh,
these. Do you want to put one of these in your fucking drink?
I do not.
Okay. What would Lando say at a time like this?
It's a dynamite taste.
Because this is how we roll when we're actually in the studio live.
We gotta take full advantage of this.
I've got the magic bag that just keeps producing beers.
That's right. Who doesn't know Anakin is Vader? I know, right? Well,
Well, see, Vader's trying to push this narrative that Anakin Skywalker is dead. You know.
So anyway, where I was going, I forget where I was going. Honestly, rewind the tape. Can we look and see where I was before I fucking lost track? No, we're not gonna do that.
No. So anyway, we get all these parallels between Thrawn and Vader. Thrawn knows that Vader is Anakin, and he throws out all these little hints.
But he doesn't know it right away. That was the point I was trying to make. Like, there was a chapter early on where he talks about, like, I think Vader's out flying or something going on that basically Thrawn goes,
"Oh, familiar maneuvers."
Right.
Yeah.
Like and it's like, yes, there's no doubt. Even though Vader keeps trying to tell me no, right? There's no doubt in my mind that Vader is Anakin.
Yeah, and
then it gets like more catty when he starts throwing stuff out there.
Yeah, because by the end, there's one point where he mentions to Vader, "Yes, the last time we were here 20 years ago, we did this," and he's like,
and Vader's like, "We were never here together."
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, my bad."
Yeah. So Thrawn's like, yeah, he's like fucking with him at this point.
Yeah. So
let's talk about the two big narratives that are going on, because for each timeline, when Thrawn and Anakin are having their little interactions on Batuu and Makiv,
that's what you're going with.
Yeah. And then when it's Thrawn and Vader in present time, there's two different mysteries going on, which funny are not related to each other at all.
No.
So in the past, come to find out, after a whole bunch of bullshit, we're not going to get into every single step leading up to this, but ultimately they find out.
We're not going to go in detailed conversation about the bartender.
No, we're gonna skip that part. We're gonna let you guys read the book and get to that point. But there is a mystery going on, which we come to find out the Separatists are in this area, and they have found this new material, cortosis, and come to find out it has the ability to like disperse energy across itself, like in anything that it's embedded with or that's like forged with, it will dissipate energy across like the whole fucking thing. So for example, a lightsaber, if you're in armor that's kind of like embedded with cortosis, if you take a lightsaber and you try to strike it, it's going to disperse the energy of that lightsaber. Your lightsaber is going to extinguish and the armor is going to be intact.
Right.
And it's just going to spread out the energy across the whole armor. Same with blaster fire. So they find out that there are droids that are being built at this location where there are these cortosis mines.
So we got, and just to confirm, so that nobody who's following along, we're on the Anakin and Padme path.
Yes, Padme.
I keep doing that. Padme. I should just say Natalie Portman. Just say
either way. Yeah.
This is that track of the book. So, Padme, there is a lot of nonsense there that gets Padme. So said it again. There is a lot of nonsense that gets Padme to basically to the factory where she meets the indigenous people there, and they put her on a fucking boat. It's like that whole thing is just fucking, and then she convinces them to take him into the factory. Like, I got completely lost as to how the fuck that even happened.
I felt the same way.
And like, okay, you're in a boat where it's easy for them to get you food and shit, yet they let you get talked into with Uncle Anakin being fucking.
Whatever. Oh, that's a whole other bullshit.
Fucking yeah. But again, Padme.
Yeah. She drags down every story for some reason.
So she gets into the fucking factory and basically is locked in there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay. And it just so happens that the Thrawn figures out like through these pieces and is able to put the pieces together and fucking, interrogating people. And there's the whole thing with the Black Spire, and like there's a lot of ancillary shit going on to ultimately get to the point where Jason's talking about with the cortosis mining.
Yeah. And Anakin comes across Thrawn when he first gets out there. He's looking for Padme, and she's missing because her handmaiden fucking sent her a message and said, "Hey, I found out some shit's going down out here." Padme goes out to investigate, finds out her fucking handmaiden is dead. Her fucking corpse is like propped up outside of a bar or a cantina.
It's very like, think Wild Wild West style, where they put the body in a coffin and they put it outside.
Yeah,
you know, out front for everybody to see.
Yeah, so who can identify this fucking corpse? Who is this person?
Right.
And she comes, she finds that corpse, and she finds that her handmaiden was off on this other planet near Batu, Makiv.
Oh, but we're not going to talk about the fact that apparently on fucking Naboo they sing songs to the dead people.
Oh God,
no. We're not going to talk about that.
No, I'd rather not. If you can help it.
Like, oh, I'm going to go out and sing a song to the dead body because it's of the same people.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, is this going to turn into fucking Lord of the Rings?
And then,
like, have you ever read Lord of the Rings? Like every other chapter, it's a fucking song.
You know when I read Lord of the Rings when I was fucking 10 years old.
Yeah,
that's when I read Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
So she sings this death song to the fucking body and has to hold back her tears because she's so upset. You know, that's her fucking favorite handmaid and whatever. Then she gets this cheap ass necklace off of her and realizes that the cheap ass necklace is the key to be able to unlock the information.
Oh, of course.
And call her ship, fucking Doug or whatever her name is. Dude,
I don't remember.
It's like DUJ or some shit like that. Or don't. So calls her ship back. She gets on there and she says, I'm Padme. What's her nuts? And fucking the ship starts telling her what everything is going on, and she gets coordinates and zoom, she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and ostensibly that's how she gets to Makiv.
Yes.
Makiv?
Sure.
All right. So that's all right. So we're done with that. No more Padme bullshit. Oh my God. And going anywhere else to that?
No more Padme bullshit, really? Because
no, it would be tough to finish this book without some more Padme bullshit.
Yeah.
What is this going on? So basically, all right. So from the chat, basically Padme in the story is just a recycled 30s Superman Lois Lane who is often the direct cause of her own trouble in the story and the ends and needs a hero to directly intervene.
That's actually a good point. She is the Lois Lane of the fucking Star Wars universe.
She's hotter though.
She is very much hotter than fucking psycho Margot Kidder.
Yeah, Margot Kidder, man.
Fucking winded up toothless and
in peace. Did she just recently die?
I think so.
Yeah.
But she was like fucking strung out on drugs and all kinds.
That's some DC bullshit. Fuck DC.
Yeah.
Wait, do I hate DC as much as I hate? No, I hate the MCU. That's what I hate. Never mind. So we need a list. The shit that Dave doesn't like.
Well, you got to remember, we actually saw Batman v Superman together.
We did,
and
the level of excitement was unbearable.
Mm-hmm.
Where the movie was unbearable, one or the other. I think it was the movie.
Yeah. No, and I do apologize for dragging you to that movie. But anyway, we digress.
It's the only way I would have saw it.
So the big mystery in the
we've
past,
digressed for a long time.
Yeah, the mystery in the past is this Cortosis mine, which. Not only we find out early on that it's being built into battle droids armor, later on we also find, wait a minute, they have clone trooper armor here? Why do these separatists have this clone trooper armor that is also embedded with this Cortosis?
Okay. So before we get into that, because that's a major plot point here at the end of the story.
Yes.
We need to get to Bronco Fett's point because this, I think, falls.
What did he say?
Well, it's the thing he's been talking about and leaked out on Facebook and everything else.
Yeah, that's the present time. That's the present time mystery because we were given two mysteries early on in this book. Little things they were hinting at that they didn't pay off until the way fucking end of the book.
So I'm going to mention it now. That way, when we mention it later at the end of the book, it makes less. There's actually some continuity.
Yeah. Should we rake him over the coals one last time before we get into this, or
Nah. He knows he fucked up.
He paid his penance.
Yeah.
He was very sorry. So
as he's starting shit with some fucking holiday special, you're gonna get your ass kicked. You're lucky that fucking t-shirt went already out in the mail. Anyway, hey, Tony Ferrari's out.
What's up, Tony?
Dave loves Marvel movies. You want Star Wars movies? Shut your face. You can shut it right now. Anyway, so the one I wanted to bring up was the fact that like there was a navigation thing.
Yes.
Going to get out to Batu and to make the jump. Like the hyperspace lanes apparently are very, very sketchy.
Yeah, because we know
something actively causing the hyperspace lanes to either pull people out of orbit early
Mhm.
and have to take longer lanes to get to these planets.
Right, because Batuu, the place that Vader and Thrawn are sent, is basically on the border of the known galaxy and the unknown regions that we've kind of gone into a
Right.
little bit in the past. Which, oh, by the way, I sent a tweet to Li Ling Chi this week. I don't know if you saw that,
I didn't.
but I asked him, like, hey, has there been any official discussion as to how many habitable or occupied planets there are in the known galaxy? He didn't respond, but I'm gonna bug him and Matt Martin for the next like month
There you go.
about that. But anyway, yes. So Batuu is on the border of the known galaxy and the unknown regions, and they're talking about the hyperlanes to get out there. And yes, like you said, things are pulling them out of hyperspace as they're trying to get out of Batuu, and this becomes a major plot point because there is a specific reason why their travel is being disrupted from getting to this outward planet on the edge of the known galaxy. So
I just wanted to bring that up as a plot point because it does play into, as we get the big reveal towards the present day thing, towards the end, then we understand it better.
Right. Because we know the unknown regions, it's like completely unknown to us in the main Star Wars galaxy, which like tons of impassable hyperspace lanes and blah 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 blah. So there's a mystery that's laid out that's like these people that are out there have something. This is what the Emperor is detecting. He senses this disturbance in the Force. There is something. Come to find out, there are these cylinders that have these people that are like in some sort of hibernation inside. And that is what is causing the disturbance because Vader sensed early on that whatever is in these cylinders is Force sensitive.
Right.
They have the power of the Force.
This is what he originally, when they get to the Black Spire, he feels the disturbance, and then suddenly the disturbance is gone.
Yes.
So that's when the interrogation and the bartender thing ends up coming up.
Yeah.
Read the book.
Yeah.
So I'd love. We'll refer to some of Bronco Fett's.
Yeah. So I mean, do we want to get into the big reveal then, like what this disturbance is?
Well, so what's bigger? Let's finish the Padme track first.
Okay.
Padme.
Right. So Anakin, Thrawn, and Padme, they find out that
you're not helping.
They find out that in addition to the battle droids, they are also producing clone trooper armor that is also embedded with this cortosis. And they're sitting there thinking, like, why is this happening? We don't understand what the fuck. And Thrawn, because Anakin and Thrawn are working together to try to rescue Padme and everything else, they're Thrawn's like sitting there like, you need to really think about this because at this point Thrawn had no ties to the Republic, the Alliance, anything.
This is essentially alluding to the fact that Thrawn, when Anakin comes into the star system where he believes he's going to encounter Padme, he encounters Thrawn.
Yes.
And that's the initial time that they start interacting oddly. Like it's not very comfortable, and they're speaking. Somehow Anakin can speak the Mehue or whatever.
Yeah.
That language that it's like a unknown regions language that Padme or the fucking Padme.
Thrawn.
She could probably speak it too.
Probably.
Because she's a queen and a senator.
She's a senator and a handmaiden.
And an exotic dancer, apparently. Anyway, the rails.
Yeah.
Help us. So I think
so ultimately, like Thrawn, when
this is why the chat is so distracting, we probably shouldn't pay attention to it.
Yeah. So ultimately, they find out that the Separatists have been making this clone trooper armor with this cortosis that can disperse lightsaber blades and blaster fire. And they find out that they're making all this clone trooper armor, and Anakin's like, what the fuck? Are they trying to make like clone trooper spies? Are they trying to like put spies into this armor to like infiltrate the Republic? And Thrawn's like, I think there's something deeper going on here.
Yeah, you're not seeing the bigger picture here.
Yeah. And he tries to warn Anakin, ultimately alluding to the fact that Palpatine is playing both sides. Palpatine is in charge of both the Separatists and the fucking Republic, as we've alluded to multiple times here on the podcast.
But Anakin's loyalty to the Chancellor like blinds him to this.
Yes.
Like even he won't. What's amazing is it just like his dick is a fucking one of those sticks that finds water. Like what's that called?
I have no idea.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
It's a stick. It's like got a Y in it. It'll lead you to water.
What?
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. Anyway, so Anakin fucking is all over Padme. His like with just blindly, like all his decision making, everything else. It's the same way. Like he is so like for what the Jedi is not. You think about what Obi-Wan, like Obi-Wan could sit there and think about what's going on and see and even attempt to see the bigger picture. Whereas Anakin does not.
No.
Like what they're showing in this book is that Anakin is so blindly loyal to his wife and to the Chancellor and to the belief that A, he can keep his wife from dying.
Yep.
And B, that the Chancellor is trying to create peace.
Yes.
That ultimately there will be peace. He doesn't understand that all this violence, like he thinks that all this violence is ultimately where we need to be to have peace.
Yeah.
And it shows it in this book. It shows it with the interactions with Thrawn. And Thrawn, to his credit, has no reason with this initial interaction with the Republic, because that's how Anakin, aspires. And Thrawn knows of the Republic and knows of like.
Well, he knows of the Clone Wars. He knows of the Separatists and everything else.
Right. He hasn't, but this is his first encounter with a Jedi. Apparently, he infers that they've encountered and heard about Sith.
Yes,
but never with Jedi.
Yeah,
which leads to a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so now you have Anakin's refusal to listen to Thrawn and say, "Hey, look, why don't you just take a moment and try and see what the bigger picture is here and learn something from this." Instead, it's like, "You gotta escape! I gotta destroy everything!" Ah!
Yeah.
Right? And he puts on the Cortosis armor and fucking starts fighting.
Yep.
Somebody made a point about Legends back here. At Legends, I guess.
Well, I mean,
Imperial Knights from Legacy had Cartosis armor.
Yeah, and we could also get into the Nogri, who played a bit part in this book.
Oh yeah,
who were a bigger part in the Legends material, but we don't have fucking time for that.
Yeah, there was a whole thing with that.
Yeah, because the Nogri have direct ties to Thrawn in Legends material, but we'll skip that for now.
And it still has a tie here, and yeah. Anyway,
that's a whole other side story. Read the fucking book. So yeah, so the big thing is obviously we know through what they're telling us in this book and our own knowledge of what's going on in the actual galaxy that they're making this clone trooper armor in addition to this fucking battle droid armor because
in the same plant.
In the same plant because Palpatine's pulling the strings on both sides, and this is all part of what will ultimately be Order 66. And for Palpatine, it's like, all right, well, my clone troopers are going to eventually extinguish the Jedi, so let me give them this armor that's going to fucking stop their lightsabers.
501st.
Yeah,
basically.
And unfortunately, Anakin puts a stop to that plan when he decides, okay, we know they have these Catorsis mines and all this shit. I'm just gonna fucking blow them up. We're gonna destroy these mines because I've destroyed tons of mines.
Collapse. The intent is to go in there with explosive and collapse the mines.
Yeah, I've collapsed a ton of mines in the past, so I'm just gonna do it this time around too. Right. Well, fucking this Cortosis shit absorbs and redisperses fucking energy. So when he goes in to destroy these fucking mines, instead of just the mines collapsing and being destroyed, it redisperses the fucking energy to the point that it just causes a mass fucking catastrophe planet wide.
Yeah, absolutely destroys the planet in front of one of the local inhabitants who they brought on the ship.
Yep.
Loeb or something.
Yeah,
the one that was helping Padme get in and out of the factory and bringing her food and shit like that.
Yeah, so it was him, it was Padme and fucking Thrawn. And Thrawn the whole time is telling Anakin, like, you might want to reconsider this. I don't think this is a good fucking idea. Like, pull it back a little bit. And he's like, no, we got to collapse the mines. And then he just essentially just decimates this entire fucking planet.
Right.
Because he thinks, oh, I'll just collapse the mines and we'll be cool in the gang. But no, because of the nature of this fucking material, it redisperses the energy, essentially drives it into the core, volcanic eruptions. Oh,
uninhabitable planet.
Yeah, I just killed fucking every living thing on this planet.
Which, as they fast forward to the present, when they make the jump and they come into what's the name of the fucking their main ship? I can't think of it right now.
The Chimera.
Yeah, they jump into the Chimera and on to McKeeve. They're like, and they're staring at it, and McKeeve is like, just apparently there was like several moons, and like there were moons missing, and like the planet was just destroyed. It was in the data banks. It was something completely different, and and Thrawn knows.
Yeah, at this point he knows because he was there when Anakin.
He
fucking
knows
did this.
that fucking Anakin did this shit and destroyed this planet, and kind of like, it's not necessarily even a jab, but just the fact that like they're there, and staring out the window, leaving Vader to think about like, yeah, you did this.
Yeah,
you destroyed this planet.
And I went back and I listened to that part again.
Yeah.
After finishing it, I listened to the part where they got to McKeeve the first time, Vader and Thrawn.
Right.
And he goes into the description about the planet and how lifeless it is and how there was some sort of catastrophe. And it's really good the way they wrote it, because
silence.
Yeah, because this was like chapter 2 when they first get there in current times, before we know what happened in the past. And they go into this whole description about Vader looking at the viewport, looking at the fucking just devastated planet, and everything else. So he wrote it really well.
It did. Yeah, read the book. So are you saying Anakin didn't make the best decision? That never happens.
No, never at all. So getting back to the current time mystery.
Okay.
So Palpatine has his vision of a disturbance in the Force. They get there. Thrawn and Vader are here. Thrawn's jabbing at Vader the whole time, basically making it known that he knows he's Anakin. And they run into this new race called the fucking what do they call
it? The Grisk.
The Grisk. Roundabout way, the Grisk are like a very warlike, dominant species from the unknown regions,
like something like the Yuzong Bong.
Yes, that is exactly what I thought about as they're describing them. Not necessarily in their full physical description, but in the way they exert dominance over other species, the way they're very aggressive, and they're trying to take over sections of the galaxy and the universe and everything. So yeah, I got that exact same impression when they were describing that. And they come across them on Batuu, and ultimately come to find out they have these prisoners in these cylinders. Vader senses that they are force sensitive, whoever these people are in these cylinders. Long story short, come to find out the people in these cylinders are Chiss, and they are force sensitive Chiss Bronco Fett
children.
Yes.
Specifically, they're force sensitive Chiss children.
Yes. Females as well. So they made that very clear.
Right. That the males would have it, but it wouldn't last as long as the females.
Right.
And the other thing to make a big point of here, and this is for you, Bronco Fett, is that Thrawn specifically states that this is something that only the children exhibit, and that they don't continue into adulthood.
Yeah, it dissipates over time.
Yeah.
Like as they age. For Chiss children, come to find out in this new canon, they can be force sensitive as children, and it's very strong. The force is very strong in them when they are young and dissipates as they get older.
Yeah. Now, a couple things to talk about.
Yes.
One, just from a plot point perspective, because Vader very specifically says, I am like that. It's so muted, like this disturbance is so muted. Even when he was on the planet with them, he could barely feel it.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Emperor could somehow feel this across the galaxy, Vader was very suspicious of. So I think Vader at that point knew, like, there's no way in hell that the Emperor didn't know that this was already happening, what this disturbance was.
Right.
So you have to take that information and then say, okay, so you have this Chiss sensitive children that they're using for navigation.
Yes.
Because they see the future.
Yes. And basically Vader extracts this information from Thrawn. He's like, what the fuck?
Right.
These are Chiss. They're children. They're force sensitive. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah. And the entire time, Vader's basically been giving Thrawn ultimatums, is like, what is going on? You're not telling me everything. And Thrawn's like, give me a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit more time. Give me a little time. And finally, Vader's like, now's the time, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah.
And then so Thrawn spills the beans. Is like, okay, these are the children. They get what? Anyway,
yeah. So
continue.
these children.
So
we know that the Chiss are somewhere out there in the unknown regions. The unknown regions are very hard to navigate because of impassable hyperspace lanes and everything else. So the reason that the Chiss were able to expand and were able to reach the known galaxy was because they used their force-sensitive children to navigate through hyperspace. So in the known galaxy, if you just fucking go into hyperspace and head towards the unknown regions, you're going to hit a fucking black hole or a star or a gravity well or something. What the Chiss do is they use these force-sensitive children to navigate their fucking hyperspace ships. So because they're so attuned with the Force, they're able to guide ships through hyperspace around all of these obstacles that would normally prevent people from our known Star Wars galaxy from getting to the unknown regions.
Which Thrawn actually uses Vader to be able to get where they need to be. They basically clear the bridge, put Vader at the helm, and now Vader's flying the Chimera to get to the point where they need to be, where ultimately they have this encounter with the Grisk.
Yeah. And even the bigger revelation beyond all of this is the fact that Thrawn ultimately tells Vader that the Emperor has plans to extend into the unknown regions.
Right.
Like the Emperor fully intends to do something in the unknown regions, which we know based on Phasma and fucking, the Aftermath books and everything else, that is part of the contingency, is for the Emperor to take his remaining forces into the unknown regions, occupy certain parts of the unknown regions, rebuild the Empire, come back to the known galaxy. And Thrawn is a big part of that. So
let's talk about let's try and resolve Bronco Fett's Bronco Fett apparently can't handle the fact that there would be force sensitive Chiss.
Which clearly, Tom, you have never played the Old Republic, because if you would have, you'd know that you could create a fucking Jedi Chiss or a fucking Sith Chiss or anything else.
Yeah.
So in that, even though it's considered Legends material now, Chiss were force sensitive.
And when I think that the Star Wars story right now, as it's progressing, is proving that anyone can be force sensitive. There was allegory to this in the Legends material. Yeah. And when you, having read Ahsoka, right? Yeah. Ahsoka runs into a random force sensitive child.
Right.
The fact that the force, I think of it like this. Some people are natural born athletes. NFL football players, some of them are freaks of nature. They can do things that no other human beings can do.
Yeah.
If we apply that to the force and say, okay, the force is, you are particularly strong in the force. You have an ability, like, even though the force is all around you, you have ability to communicate with it.
Yeah.
If we could bring up the M word and talk about the midichlorians, or, but that I think was a crutch to try and describe the interaction.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, people have this ability, and not a lot of people know exactly why they have it.
Right. Because, like, in football terms, you don't have to be a Manning to be a good football player.
Right.
Sometimes just a random person will just be physically gifted and mentally gifted enough to do this.
To be able to do it. And so the fact that there were the biggest revelation in this entire book, and where I think I am making a prediction right now that there's going to be a third book.
Yeah, I was going to get to that at the end, but yeah.
I think that this is where we're learning about Thrawn's allegiance ultimately is to the Chiss ascendancy, right? This is this is where he's like, look, he needs the Emperor to be able to, and the Empire and their ability to be able to defeat the Grisk.
Yes.
And because the Grisk have already they've figured out, like, okay, if we steal Chiss children, then we can get and do things with them.
Right.
that we aren't able to do otherwise. They're obviously they're doing things, and the Chiss are like, fuck, we don't. The Chiss. There's a Chiss exchange with the children, where they send the children back home to their home world.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a Chiss spacecraft that enters into it. Really, this is a two-pier.
Yes.
Um,
Lots of beer was drank today.
all right. Do we want to stop now?
You can finish your thought, and then we'll.
Well, my thought's done now. You had put up the fucking peace sign.
No, but it's these Grisk, they abducted these Chiss children who could help them navigate the unknown regions, because the Grisk are very aggressive. They're really trying to expand. They're really trying to invade the known galaxy.
And ultimately, what Thrawn is trying to do is convince Vader to what the Emperor already probably knows, that the Grisk are a threat.
Yes.
Now, what I would really want to see, and what we'll talk about when you get back, is what the Grisk look like.
Yes. Which I don't know if we got a full description of that, but we'll talk about it when I get back. So for now, we will take yet another break.
All right, well,
and we will be right back.
Hurry up.
After this word from our
If you kept your flip-flops on, you'd be able to get out of here faster.
sponsors.
Oh. I don't want to touch anything, because it's just us again. There we go. Hopefully I didn't fuck anything up. So let me catch up on the chat. Big Love, and I agree with you. I miss the Legends Force also. Like, everything was explained so well, and you had such a good idea of who was able to use the Force and what those abilities were. But they did it over a period of dozens and dozens of books. So they had the ability to be extremely descriptive in a book, and then carry that descriptiveness, is that a word, all the way through the other books. So excuse me, let's see, blah 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 blah. Sounds like a lot of bad patch fixes to something that shouldn't have been attempted in the first place. I don't know that I tend to agree with that. Bronco Fett's brother. I think that they're trying to develop a storyline that makes Thrawn a bigger part of the overall Star Wars universe, and getting out to the outer reaches. Because I think looking ahead, some people also alluded to it with the growth and the let the past change and stuff like that. I think what we're looking at is an avenue. And it's an avenue to be able to, and we're going to end up repeating this, but it's an avenue to be able to expand into new books, new characters, new everything, as we move out into the unknown regions, where the Empire obviously was surveying and poking into, and how the Chiss and the Grisk, and there's going to be obviously any imagine amount of characters that come out of it, and what do we get out of this in the long game. So we'll see.
Oh, your brother likes Doctor Who?
Oh, see, that's just a jab. I don't know. We can't. Let's not. We're not going to pass judgment here just based on brothers going back and forth. We can't. We don't know that for sure. That's a pretty strong statement.
Yeah, that's a really statement. Tough accusation. That's
so. All right, let's get
all
back.
Right, we ready to get back to this? All right, give me. Yeah, so we'll go 115. All right, give me 10 seconds. And we're back. So, sorry about that. Where were we?
So we're getting to the big picture,
right?
You know, as to what is the purpose of this,
right?
You know,
yeah. So the Grisk, Thrawn hints towards the end that the Grisk have already sort of infiltrated the Chiss Ascendancy, because one thing that we're kind of given a hint of about the middle of the book is that the Grisk use people's weaknesses against them. They use whatever they can against somebody to ultimately persuade them to their side and to kind of like serve them almost.
And the Chiss, they use their children against them. You know, and they use that to control the Chiss's decision making.
Yeah. So at this point, Thrawn is under the impression that the Chiss have already been compromised. The Chiss ascendancy has been compromised, and that at least a small section of them have been serving the Grisk. So yeah, he's all kind of fucked up as to what he thinks is going on with these Grisk and everything else, because they've somehow gotten a hold of these Chiss children. It's also revealed later that they are using Chiss technology. They're using Chiss cloaking devices,
right?
and
What you see
other
to
stuff.
Nagiri, whatever.
Nagri, yeah.
Nagri,
And
what you see him using.
Yep. So basically, it's revealed that these Grisk are aggressively expanding throughout the universe.
Yeah.
And
honestly, like, I think we can't draw the parallel close enough to what we would have in a Yuzon Vong.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that this aggressive species of whatever it is, what it looks like. So here's where are we? So let's get to the questions, because we're just about at 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got some questions in the notes. One of them that you're asking is, was Thrawn one of these child navigators?
I felt like, as Thrawn was talking about, he talked about how a majority, like 99% of these Force sensitive children were females. But there were also points where he was talking and it talked about like his voice trailed off as he was like getting lost in thought, as he was talking about these child navigators. And I really feel like they were insinuating that Thrawn was one of these Force sensitive children that were one of their navigators that eventually lost his Force powers later on.
Why not allude to that in the first Thrawn book, though? Because we have when he becomes like in his warrior state and everything else. Why not allude to what you get in the first Thrawn book is that he's never left his home world.
Right. But obviously we know that's not true. So, because he left during the Clone Wars when he had that interaction with Anakin.
And was that before? That was after. That had to be after everything that happened at that point.
No, because the point in the Thrawn book where he was exiled, in quotes, that happened long after his interaction with Anakin. So
I still don't make that connection. I can't get there with him being one of the Force sensitive ones.
If I had $2 on me right now, I would plunk it down on that fucking mixer, because I would strongly believe that he was a Force sensitive child that was one of their navigators.
I'm gonna do that.
All right.
I got $2.
I've got $2 in the house, so I'll plunk it down.
There it is.
Nice.
$2.
Because it seemed like it was so obvious the way they were describing it as he was talking about the child navigators and everything else, even though 99% of them were females.
Now you're getting this from the audiobook.
Sure, but I mean it's the same text.
But here's the problem with that, and this is why I hesitate. They're reading something from the audiobook and you're putting inflection into things that might not necessarily be the author's intent or even the story's intent. Like, I could put my emphasis on the wrong syllable and could change the sentence entirely. But
indeed you did.
But that's one of those things where, like, the audiobook is the audiobook. Just like, let me use an example. The novelizations of the movies. The novelizations in the movies could put emphasis on a particular scene based on the way it's written, that it wasn't necessarily the intent of what the movie is.
Right.
That's why the novelizations were never really considered canon. If you go through the course of all the movies, the novelizations aren't canon. They're just the novelizations.
Right.
So we might read it and try and glean some information like we may with Solo or anything else. But the reality is the movie is the canon.
Yeah.
So if they placed emphasis on something differently in the novelization, it doesn't change the fact that what it was in the canon is canon. So with the audiobook, I caution you to make the same mistake. is believing that because they read it in a certain way, because
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily read it that way. And I'm reading it in my own head, and I'm curious what the everyone else would think. Does everybody accept Bronco Fett says, does everybody exceptional have to be force sensitive? And the answer is no.
No, of
And
course
I would even say it as this: force sensitivity has been exhibited throughout some of these books as just sometimes it is just an exception. Sometimes
Right.
it is just a person that's able to do something extraordinary.
Yeah, and it's like we said, just because you're not a Skywalker doesn't mean you can't potentially be
Yeah.
force sensitive. And even then, there's different levels of force sensitivity.
Right.
It's like you're
It's
not like
it's
fucking Anakin Skywalker right
it's
at the gate.
it's whatever your attenuation is to the force is how, and then you have to have, like, you could be somebody who's extremely attenuated to the force, like the Anakin Skywalker that we see in episode 1,
Mhm.
but that would never turn into being a Jedi without the Jedi influence.
Right.
Like, that's just a kid who fucking rides a fucking speeder really fast
Yeah.
because he can see into the future.
Mhm.
That's the parallel, is Anakin Skywalker in episode 1 is basically these Chiss children,
Sure. Yeah.
except with the Chiss, because of their particular flavor, their blue skin, this is what their makeup is, their genetic makeup.
Mhm.
This ability doesn't stay with them.
With your blue skin and your red eyes,
But that's the way the Empire would look at him
your
anyway.
fucking chiss.
He's making a Chappelle reference if you're not picking that up. But Tony Ferrara, and I don't know that everybody in the universe is force. The force isn't everyone to an extent.
No,
the force is
and-
around everyone.
Yes.
Then, and again, it comes down to an attenuation thing, and
Yeah.
I think this is where Star Wars is going. Ultimately, when did I unplug that? Wow,
It just unplugged itself.
It went to 100% and then unplugged itself. Fucking
It's
Apple
like
is
fucking
getting
done.
really advanced at this
Yeah.
point. I don't agree. The kid that fucking in Last Jedi that brings the broom to his hand, you're just making it's an allegory to the fact that there are more force users
Yes.
in the galaxy,
and that I'm fine with. But this fucking idea that it's like, oh, anybody can use the force, fucking Lando can use the force, and fucking Han and Chewbacca can use the force. And that is wrong.
We ran into that in Force Awakens too. When we were discussing Force Awakens and like Rey's origins and shit like that, which I think drove a lot of our conversations to, well, this ability, because her attenuation, I keep using that word, her particular, her antennae that are
it's a good word.
That's what she just happens to have more attenuation to the force.
Yeah.
And she had influence from a Jedi, or influence, by her surroundings, because this was what was going on.
Yeah.
And however that happened, it happened. But so if you were, again, let's go back to Legends materials for a moment and think about how Luke restarted the Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
We don't have any idea how he did it in this canon, but in Legends material, it was a search. It was a search for who was force sensitive and who was attenuated to it, and then bring those people with you.
And regardless of how much you were attenuated to it, because there were some people in his first academy that barely had any force abilities at all. But he's like, you can slightly use the force, so come on.
Yeah, so come on, and you have a purpose in this, because it's. I just had this random thought about like the fucking X-Men or some shit like that, where not everybody has the same power, but you can still be part of the team type deal. I think for the force, you go through the academy to weed out those people.
Sure.
But anyway, I think what they're giving us right now is the fact that and the next question is, well, I think the end of the question is, where will there be more Thrawn books? I believe the answer is yes. I believe that this is a trilogy.
Yeah, it feels like there's going to be a third book, because it feels like it's building towards something, like either like an imperial confrontation with either the Grisk or the Chiss Ascendancy, or both, because it feels like there is so much out there left unresolved with Palpatine and the Chiss and the fucking Grisk and all that. So yeah, no, I am in full agreement that by the end of this book, I'm like, there's going to be a third. There
Yeah,
has to be a
I
third
believe
book in this
there
series.
has to be. Whether Vader's involved in it or how the Emperor chooses to eliminate this threat from the Grisk.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, as we move along past all this, the Chiss is not involved. The Chiss isn't involved at all in the rest of the canon.
Sure.
Like we don't even hear about it. So it's curious to see where we draw the parallels. Do you want to get to this Eli Vanto?
Well, we mentioned Eli, or they mentioned Eli in the very beginning of this book, because if you remember, Eli Vanto was Thrawn's assistant throughout the whole first book. He
Right.
was Thrawn's kind of right-hand man,
Right.
whether he wanted to be or not.
And he was sent off basically at the end of Thrawn. He was sent off to assist the Chiss.
Yeah. So they sent him off, and he basically joined the Chiss Ascendancy.
Right.
And there was one mention of him early on in this book about how, Eli Vanto had disappeared. Nobody knew where he was or what was going on. There was a lot of mystery around that.
Except for the Emperor and Thrawn.
Well, Thrawn for sure. Like Thrawn knew, but I don't know if the Emperor
I'll bet
knew.
the Emperor did as well.
And my thought is, so Thrawn suspects that a portion of the Chiss Ascendancy has already fallen to this Grisk empire.
Mhm.
Like, because of the way the Grisk are able to manipulate other species using their weaknesses, blah, 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 blah. Thrawn is under the impression that some of the Chiss have already fallen to them. Maybe Eli is relaying information back to Thrawn because we know Eli is with the Ascendancy.
Mhm.
So I feel like that story, there's more to that story that we're going to see eventually.
I think I don't have a problem with that. And what? Oh, I'm sorry, got distracted by the chat. Yeah, we'll see. All I can say to that is we'll see.
Yeah.
It's not something I really thought about by the end of this book, except for the fact that the ship that was there, was he on it?
Yeah.
But the Grisk to me is one of these anomalies where I hate to do this. I'm putting it. I'm saying it right now. I hate to do it. I really want to see what one looks like.
Yeah.
Because and the reason for that is Snoke.
Oh.
I wonder, like, if you were writing this story and the Chiss Ascendancy is no longer in existence by the time we get to The Force Awakens, by the time we get to the First Order, and all the Emperor's contingency plans are now happening, and you have this guy show up from nowhere. Ostensibly, we imagine from the outer region or from the unknown regions.
Yeah.
We have now you have the Grisk, and I think that the watch this Doctor Who sucks. See, again, they're putting it there to chat distraction. Like I really should not even look at it.
Yeah, the Fett brothers are
yes
are at it in the chat. So,
but I throw it out there just as a like, hey, if it happens, we said it first type thing.
Yeah.
But you wonder with the Grisk, if the Empire goes out there and decides that the Chiss, they basically step on the Chiss, allow the Grisk to live and be a part of another part of the Emperor's, his ability to manipulate reaches so far.
Yeah.
There's this individual Grisk.
I just remembered something. They talk about the Grisk in this fucking book to how they're slightly bigger than a normal humanoid and how they have like claw-like hands. That's exactly what fucking Snoke looks like.
Yeah.
Last Jedi.
Listen. I'm not. I throw this out there because I was thinking about it as I was reading the book, and I want everyone else, don't jump to conclusions. Just let it simmer.
Yeah.
Because I'm really, really curious.
Holy shit!
Because we have a major character in Snoke that we have no idea where he came from, no idea what species it is, and anything else.
Yeah.
We got all this shit happening out in unknown space, where essentially the First Order was born, and then brought back into the core worlds.
Yep.
So, is it a coincidence? Am I trying too hard to
I
make
don't
this
think so.
connection?
No, I don't think so at all.
I don't know. So
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see because I'm sure that the story group and everybody else, they're waiting for this last movie in the sequel trilogy to come out before they start throwing out all these explanations. Like, okay, this is who Snoke was, this is where he's from, blah 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 blah.
if they bother at all, and I hope they do, but it's one of those things where I was drawn to it. I'm drawn to the fact that they brought in another alien race that is so aggressive that, and now ultimately I think the Empire is going to step on either the Chiss
Mm-hmm.
or they're going to step on the Grisk in
Right.
whatever comes next. If they make a new book, sorry, if they make another book, then and Bronco Fed's basically asking the same thing that I was just describing. Is Snoke a Grisk? And that's the question.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of alluding
That's
to
the
because
question.
they mentioned that they are humanoids but slightly bigger than a human. So, goddamn, that would be. I never even thought about that as I'm listening to this audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
Never even dawned on me that, oh, this could be the same species that fucking Snoke
It
is.
could. Because let's face it, and we went went into our last Jedi, like trying not to get, make too many assumptions and everything
Mm-hmm.
else, so that we're not so disappointed going into the movie. But this is what we're sitting here talking about Star Wars for 2 hours, and this is where some of it comes from.
Yeah.
It's like, as I was reading this is my final thought was, as we talk about the Grisk and the Chiss sensitive children and everything else. I know Bronco Fett had a huge issue with it, but um, the reality is it's just a way for Thrawn. It's an explanation for Thrawn to be still involved with the Ascendancy and
Yeah.
bringing the Empire closer to it. Vader needed to be standing there to see it, and the Emperor knew that, like, okay, these are these just children. Like, Thrawn needs to go again. As we look in the back, Thrawn has to face his future, and he had to make a decision. And ultimately, he gave the children back to the Chiss Ascendancy, but he's going back with the Empire.
Yeah.
So, which still, I think Thrawn ultimately, as we see in Rebels, a little bit further than what we've already, like, I've seen in Rebels a little bit further than you have.
Mm-hmm.
The Thrawn's future is with the Empire, but for Vader, it's a way for Vader to have to deal with the fact that he was Anakin Skywalker,
Yeah.
and this was somebody that knows he's Anakin Skywalker ultimately and has to deal with that. So I think that was what the purpose of the book was, like the underlying purpose, but the big picture is the Ascendancy, the Grisk. They can't just
Mm-hmm.
let that go. You can't.
No, God.
You don't just fucking throw that up in the air and
Yeah.
not expect it to fall somewhere. So that's where I think would be.
Yeah, and that's why I thought like there's got to be a third book. Like there has to be. The way they threw that fucking meatball out there, and it's just
Yeah.
floating out there right now. Like they did the same thing in the first fucking
When's the
Thrawn
last
book.
time Zahn didn't write a trilogy?
I think the Thrawn duology that he wrote,
Well, specifically
which was
was a
2 books.
duology.
Yeah. So, but I think they announced it ahead of time. It was 2 books, and it wasn't really Thrawn. Spoiler alert, but that was all Legends material anyway. So, but yeah, ultimately, Thrawn Alliance's good book, a nice addition to the Star Wars canon. I wish I knew Thrawn's fate at the end of Rebel season 4, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't because I haven't watched it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I'm
don't tell him.
I'm hoping that Thrawn is still alive at the end of season 4 because that could open up all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah.
Um, but either way, it feels like as I'm reading the same conclusion you came to, there has to be more books.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At
it's
least one more Thrawn book,
yeah.
and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, there's I can't see them not having another book, because how else? This is not closure for
No,
this
not
book,
at all.
not by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, this really feels
So
like Empire. There's like so much shit left open at the end of this.
no, you're not. You're not going to say it.
Thrawn. Okay.
Don't. Yeah, ignore the chat, Jason.
Yeah. Uh,
Um. All right. So I think we covered Thrawn pretty well.
I'd say so.
I mean, it's not a detailed chapter by chapter description. We jumped all over the place,
No.
like we do, because that's our thing. That's what we do. But going. I would definitely recommend reading this book if you're interested in what's going on in the canon, and you have read novels before. Get in there and read this one.
Yeah, and if reading is not your thing,
get the audio.
The audiobooks,
their quality is amazing.
Yeah, the production value, everything else, really, really good. Mark Thompson, not to be confused with the guy we used to work for, but
quiet, Jason.
All right.
Nobody Google.
Yeah. Really, really good at doing voices, narrating, things like that. So
anyway, all right. So next week.
So here's what I'm thinking. If we can get one more episode in while I'm here in New Jersey in the studio, I think we should do like an AMA style episode, like an Ask Me Anything. We solicit everybody who's in our private Facebook group, everybody who is here in the YouTube chat, and really just make it kind of a fucking just random mishmash of anything.
Yeah.
Ask us anything. You can ask us about our personal lives. You can ask us about Star Wars. You can ask us what we feel about Game of Thrones or Marvel movies.
I already took care of that.
Yeah, you can ask us specific questions and we'll answer it here live on the podcast, and we'll make a whole episode out of it. We'll pick the best and the worst. We'll give priority to people who are more loyal than others. So the people who have, say, bought our t-shirts or shared us a lot on social media,
right?
The usual people that we talk about every week on the podcast.
I like it.
Yeah.
And then if we, for whatever reason, we become geographically separated, we'll figure something else out.
Well, and that's the thing. Once we become separated, because we will after next week, then that's when we get back to Rebels. We finish season 3, season 4, get back to Clone Wars, comics, whatever else we decide we want to get into that week.
Fair enough.
So,
and no, you can't break me, Matt. You cannot.
No.
Trust me.
He's already broken anyway. He's broken Dave Martin. So.
So
you need to dye just like one gray streak into the top of your hair.
You don't need to. There's enough gray there. That's why I keep it short and wear hats.
Some people will get that.
Yeah. Fuck X-Men.
Broken Dave Martin. That's his new name. So.
Isn't that's an X-Men reference, isn't it?
Okay.
Whatever. No, it's in my banging around in my fucking brain, asshole. Social media. Keep following us on Instagram at All Things Star Wars Pod. Get on our Facebook page, facebook.com/All Things Star Wars Pod. Apply to our private Facebook group if you haven't already. If you're curious,
if you're an adult and you can handle some adult situations,
then yes, exactly.
Which who did that today, by the way? Was that David Schmuck?
No, I think it started with Tony Ferrari with the pegging video.
No. Well, the pegging video was
good. I wasn't gonna say pegging. Fuck.
The pegging was great, by the way. But no, I'm talking about the magazine cover.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Oh man,
Twi'lek porn. We're all about it.
If
that's what you're into and you want to see what goes on behind the fucking curtain.
Yeah. If you want to know all about pegging and fucking Twi'lek porn, then join our private Facebook group.
Yeah. You get the insider, you get inside stuff. Not inside for the podcast, because you're getting whatever you get here, but there's definitely some random shit that happens that we can do in the private group that we definitely don't want out in public.
Yeah.
We have security clearances we got to worry about.
It's not even on here. Did it get removed?
No fucking way it got removed.
What the fuck?
It was not, because it's not even nudity. Anyway,
it was good though.
It's out there. You sure you're in a private group?
I'm working on it. Hold on.
All right,
keep going.
So get on Facebook.com/All Things Star Wars Pod. You follow us on Twitter at All Things SW Pod. Like I said, you can watch Jason, and it's very nice. What was I talking about? Fuck. follow us on Twitter. Watch Jason harass Leland
That was
Chi
big
and the rest of
loving,
the
by the
story, the rest of the story group at All Things SW Pod. You can go if we're talking about t-shirts at you can if you go to facebook.com/all things Star Wars pod, or if you go to www.allthingsstarwarspod.com, it'll take you to our Facebook page, and you can right pinned at the top there, you can go to our Teespring site, which is teespring.com/stores/all things SW pod, and you can go there and buy a t-shirt. All the stuff won't be in the show notes because Jason doesn't do it.
It will be. I copy and paste it into the show description every single week. So.
Sure he does. What won't be there is our YouTube video that we did talking about the episode 9 thing. Most likely not. Harass him. And anyway, I think that's pretty much it. This was a couple hours long. It's been a while since we've done a long podcast like this. I'm sure my wife is wondering what the fuck is going on. It's almost 8:00.
I'm so mad that her phone call got cut off in the last episode.
Listen, if you're in a podcast audience right now and you're wondering what the fuck happened, and that Jason and I were belly laughing so much for a good 30 seconds, my wife called and I put it on the phone. I hit the speaker and I said, "Hi, you're live on the All Things Star Wars podcast." And she said, "Oh, fuck." And then hung up. It was fucking hilarious.
Oh, it was great.
And it was, if you can go on the YouTube, episode 66, and you can hear it barely in the YouTube footage. But when the audio was pulled, it was just low enough where it got cut off by the software. But comic gold. Thank you, honey, for providing us with that. And any other thing that doesn't seem to make sense in a podcast, that's because we're so random in the studio.
So many inside jokes.
We were talking about it before we went on air, how in the studio, how easy it is to get distracted. And well, for one, I think because we know we don't have a time limit. I think that's a big
one. Yeah.
With only 90 minutes while he's on the road, it forces us to kind of stay on track a little bit. Yeah. So, less attempts at breaking. A potato and carrot made it out. Less attempts at breaking us in the chat. So
I'm looking at what Tony
said. Anyway, I'm not saying it again. I said I wasn't going to say it. I already slipped, so I'm not saying anything again. So anyway, Jason, I got nothing.
Yeah,
I'm burnt. I'm fucking fried.
Hopefully we made a little bit of sense as we're talking about Thrawn alliances. Overall, it was good.
Fast forward towards the end when we we make some bigger revelations. If you're really tired of us bouncing around.
Yeah, if you haven't read it, read it. If you don't like books, listen to the audiobook. It's worth it. It feels like it's leading into something bigger. So get on it. Read Thrawn Alliances. That's all I got to say about that.
Yes, read it.
And
it is recommended by the ATSW.
Yes, and keep an eye out. We may throw out an AMA questionnaire, I guess, something on the private Facebook group or somewhere else, Instagram.
We'll just have to go through if that's what we're gonna do. Start posting your questions, and then we'll just catalog everything. As it comes up. Jason's going to be busy for the next couple of days
until at least Friday.
Until Friday, studying and doing everything else, and then we're going to be having an out of studio get together.
Yes.
On the weekend, hopefully celebrating. So, regardless, while we're getting together, we'll probably talk about. We can start looking at the questions and shit like that. We can make some up.
Yeah.
But
the more entertaining the questions, the more likely they're going to get read on the air. So,
yes.
That being said, to you, Dave, and to all of the listeners who have been joining us on YouTube, in the chat, or just listening to us on our audio podcast, may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. What kind of water is this? Ugh, awful.
It's from my fridge. Now, what do I click?
You got to say it like her. Now, what do I click?
I tried